Okay, folks, there's some question as to whether or not the information is either valid or not valid with the number of sieverts in the core of reactor number 2. In the core of reactor number 2 is estimated anywhere from 5,000 to the outer core is sitting at just outside of the outer core in the building. It's at 500. Those are estimates. Now that's not that bad really when you think about it. Because if you go out just a few hundred feet, which I put in my Fukushima radiation levels reactor number 2 part 2 in one of the comments to somebody else, you'll find that as your radiation outputs, let's say you got 5,000, let's say you got 500 let's say 500 sieverts at say 20 foot. Well, at double that distance, 40 foot, you have a fourth as much radiation. So instead of 500 sieverts, you'd have 125 sieverts. And as you double the distance, you keep taking it down by a division multiple of 4. And most people don't realize that. I mean, a 5,000 sievert reactor core would produce probably would produce less than 1 sievert of radiation at about a half a mile. Think about that. By the time you're up to a half a mile away from the reactor, it's below 1 sievert. Then you have factors such as runoff, anything that can cause erosion, such as wind, rain, snow, mudslides, all that stuff can reduce this radiation piling up by blowing it out to sea or inland or down the road or wherever it's blowing it. So that amount can be distributed unevenly because of that. And you also have to check as to where the exit point is from the reactor core, or what they call the containment dome, where it's actually exiting the containment dome versus the whole building. And then if the building is not completely compromised, only parts of it are compromised, then again, where the radiation comes out of the building and everything depends on how much you put in that area. But just remember, strontium-90, if you figure a nuclear explosion releases about 5% long-term radioactive isotopes out of the total nuclear exchange or half-lifing, what they call a chain reaction. When these chain reactions or these radioactive half-lifings occur, only about 5% turn over into long-term contaminants, i.e. iodine-131, which is one of the shorter ones, cesium-134, cesium-137, and strontium-90. So that only 5% of the total is actually those. But they may only account for 5% of the total. That means the rest of it is caused by radioactivity created by the U-235 or the plutonium in the reactor, which is the fuel of the reactor, and any other fast half-lifing or rapid half-lifing elements that came out of it other than the ones I just mentioned. They were so fast, some of them are in seconds and even milliseconds and billionths of a second. They only some of them don't last hardly any time at all before they half-life. Iodine, one of the longer range or longer lasting ones, only lasted a little over 8 days before it half-lasted the first time. So don't think I'm trying to scare you when I say there's going to be 1 million sieverts of radiation due to strontium-90. I mean, if you figure 1 million, and then you figure that's inside the containment dome, and you figure 10 foot to that. If you figure 10 foot away from it, it may be 250,000. 20 foot away. You're still not even out of the building yet. And then it's down to about, 250,000 divided by 4. That's about, 60,000? Then by the time you get up to the building itself, which is about 120 foot away, it's a 100 and something foot wide building. So now that you're outside of the building, you're talking what? 15,000? Then you get, I mean, you can keep going as you go, as I'm going there, but you see the way it's going. 15, then it goes down to basically 4,000, and 1,000, and 250. So at this point, you're up to about a mile. That's it. You're talking about just basically using that equation. You're talking about probably two or 3 miles down the road. Once that reaches its maximum, that radiation is going to be spread around and it's going to contaminate. But that hasn't occurred yet. And this is just reactor number 2. Think about it. Some of those radioactive isotopes, particularly strontium-90, take so long to half-life as far as human years is concerned that most of us will be long dead before it finishes max out the radiation field that it can create as it half-lives. Right now it's just building up more and more strontium because it ain't half-lifing as fast as it's building up. Well, I don't know if that better explains it or not, but I thought I'd explain it again. Thomas Willis out here, also known as Keith Barron Willis. Anybody wants to look me up. Have a good one.